Let me tell you a story. One whispered in the shadows of a rainy night in Port Harcourt. A story about Fatima, a seamstress, and the ride she never expected to take. The rain fell in heavy sheets as Fatima boarded the old Danfo bus at the edge of the Rumukuro market. She clutched a small purse tightly, the fabric damp from her nervous grip. Inside it was money she desperately needed. Her mother's hospital bills depended on it. The bus, a battered old vehicle held together by Sherlock and prayers, was packed as usual. Fatima squeezed herself into the last remaining seat, her thoughts on the money in her purse. The rain intensified as the bus sped along the congested road. The driver, a wiry man with quick hands and a reckless edge, whipped dangerously between cars. "Oga, take am easy," someone called out. But the driver only laughed, his voice loud over the storm. Near the Element junction, the inevitable happened. A flash of light, a deafening honk. The bus skidded, spinning out of control on the wet asphalt. There was a screech, a crash, and then silence. When Fatima opened her eyes, the bus was on its side in a ditch, the rain pouring through the shattered windows. Passengers groaned and cried, their voices weak and distant. Fatima's head throbbed, and her fingers trembled as she reached for her purse. It was still there. She tried to stand, but something held her back. The air was thick, suffocating, and the rain seemed unnaturally cold. A faint smell of burnt rubber mixed with something metallic. The sounds of footsteps in the water made her freeze. Help? She turned her head, hope flickering in her chest, but the figure that approached was not a rescuer. The man in a wide-brimmed hat was outside, standing motionless in the rain. His face was still hidden, but his posture was wrong, too stiff, too unnatural. His head tilted slowly, as though listening to something no one else could hear. "Hello!" Fatima's voice was barely a whisper. The man turned sharply, his movements jerky, like a puppet on strings. His eyes glowed faintly, an eerie yellow in the dark. He reached into the bus, his hands impossibly long and skeletal. Fatima screamed, but no sound came out. Her throat was dry, her body paralyzed. She watched in horror as he moved closer, his hands curling around her purse. "No!" she gasped, her voice finally breaking free. The man froze, his head snapping towards her with an unnatural speed. The glow in his eyes intensified, and his mouth stretched into a grin, too wide for any human face. "I will take more than this," he hissed, his voice a wet rasp that echoed in her ears. The last thing Fatima saw was his hand reaching for her. The rain twisted around him like shadows coming to life. What do you think happened next?